From unseen contamination to improper storage techniques, we're going to cover some different things here to make sure that your pantry is there for you when you need it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa, and we are all about pantry preparedness. Today, we're going to talk about hidden dangers in your emergency food supplies. We want to make sure when we're building our emergency pantry supply that it's not about quantity, okay? That it is primarily about quality and safety, because otherwise you're just bringing another danger to your family. We have 13 different things here, so grab a pen and paper. Let's get ready. So expired or spoiled foods, you want to keep an eye on those. Now, expiration dates are not the be-all, end-all. We know this, okay? But if you have something that's like a tomato product and you look at the can and it says, oh, well, you know, it's okay, best if used by August of 2025. And it is now August of 2027, but the can still looks like this, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine. So as long as it's not dented, as long as it's not, you know, bowed out, whatever, as long as there's no compromising of the container, it should be good. Now, obviously, that doesn't work with dairy products, right? So you have to know which products you can actually skate by. This is a best if used by date, not an expiration date. Now, if you keep cottage cheese for a year, that's a whole different ballgame. So the danger in this, okay, is the nutritional degradation, which is not so much a danger, it's just something you need to be aware of, and potential for foodborne illnesses if the container that it's in has been compromised. When you keep something past its best by date, the nutritional degradation can occur, but it's so minute. It is so minute, you guys, okay? So I don't want you to think that, oh my God, it's absolutely not healthy now because I'm 3 weeks past. No, it's at its prime when you are within the dates. It's still nutritional and it's still good food when it's past the date. Number 2 is improperly stored canned goods. Because, okay, no unsafe canning, guys, okay? Because that's improper storage too. However, the danger here is rust, dents, or bulges that can lead to botulism, because those rust, dent, or bulges in the can compromise the actual can so that air can get into it, so that bacteria can get into it. You have lost all of its shelf stability, and it can make you really sick. So store it in a cool, dry place. That's number 1. When we're talking about store-bought cans, that is number 1. Cool and dry, not freezing. If your garage gets down to freezing, that's not a good place to store them, because that heat in the summertime can make it expand, and the freezing in the wintertime can make it expand. So you don't want the extremes. You want that middle ground, okay? Optimum 55 to 75. My house gets to 80 degrees. So does mine. Big deal. The cans are not going to explode at 80 degrees, okay? At 110, maybe they will. But that's why you don't store the stuff in sheds, or why you don't put it in garages, because those are your extreme temperatures. In your house or in your dwelling is the best place, okay? Avoid buying dented or compromised cans. It's just not a good practice. Number 3, and you know, with fall and the beginning of winter, a lot of people are running into this issue this year, pests and rodents. So not only are you dealing with, you know, pantry moths or, you know, Japanese lady beetles, okay, which are different from ladybugs. Google it. Anyway, so there's, you know, different bugs that you can deal with, but then there's also rodents. And it does not matter if you're in the country, you're going to deal with a mouse at some point or another. They find ways in. They are very smart little creatures. So, but the contamination from their droppings or from their urine, or gnawing on stuff, ooh, very bad. Can make you so sick, okay? So the solution for any of that, when you're looking at your food storage, whether it's in your pantry or in your kitchen cupboards, any kind of food that you store in your house, is to use airtight, pest-proof containers. I am big into glass. Mice will chew through just about anything, okay? Store food off the ground and check your storage areas regularly for infestations. Don't trust that kitty is going to keep an eye on it, okay? Check it regularly. It should be something that you get into on a regular basis. Take a look, make sure everything's fine. It's kind of like when you go down in your pantry and you inventory it every quarter, because you inventory it every quarter, right? And so you're checking all the jars to make sure that they're all sealed. Same deal. You want to do that with all of your food storage, because one mouse can cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars in damage. Number 4 is a packaging failure. So if you get stuff from the store like pasta or beans or whatever, and they come in their own, container, if they come in jars, like say, let's look at this. Jars, okay. So this is a commercially done honey, or like the Thrive Life, okay. If I get that and it's open, that's not good, okay? Exposure to air, moisture, or contaminants can happen if those things are opened. So you want to keep an eye on that. If you open it yourself, then you want to make sure that you are storing it properly after opening it to reduce any exposure to air, moisture, or contaminants. That's a really big deal for all of your food. So use vacuum sealing Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers for long-term storage, and avoid cheap packaging materials because they can degrade over time. So a lot of people say, I buy, the beans like from Dollar Tree, or I buy the beans from someplace and they come in a bag. Can't I just take that bag and put it into a 5-gallon bucket and close it? Not optimal, because those are really thin, not great long-term bags, okay? So it really is best to repackage things out of their commercial packaging. If you're looking at food other than freeze-dried, these are done because they're Nutrisystem and it's all locked up tight and it's good as long as you don't mess with it. But when you're talking about store-bought stuff like beans or pasta or rice or that kind of thing, repackage it. It really is a best practice. Number 1, you'll be able to tell if anything hitchhiked in. And number 2, it's getting into a much better storage container than what it arrived in. Number 5 is over-reliance on one type of food. What? Okay. So nutritional deficiencies and appetite fatigue. And a lot of people are like, if you're really hungry, you'll eat it. No, if you're really hungry and you have some serious, honest to God food fatigue, you will vomit and not be able to get it in your face. It's a fact. Okay. It happens. Children seem to be very susceptible to this. So it's something that you have to consider. So is it enough that I have, a year's worth of peanut butter? Well, you can't eat peanut butter every single day, because I promise you, even if you love peanut butter, it's going to make you so sick. And then you are going to be so deficient in any other vitamins and minerals because that's all that you're ingesting. Our bodies are these amazing machines, but they require the right formula in order to make them run optimally, okay? So if you are putting nothing in but Doritos and Pepsi, I can guarantee that your car is going to break down. So when you're stocking, you want to make sure to diversify what you got going on, okay? Stock a variety of food groups, including your proteins, your carbs, your fats, your vitamins, your vegetables, the whole deal. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of everything, because if you don't, you're missing something big and it could really impact your health. Number 6 is hidden allergens. I am not allergic to anything. Well, I did just find out that I'm allergic to some surgical adhesive. Who knew? But if you are allergic to dairy, or if you're allergic to nuts, or if you're allergic to cinnamon, or if, any number of things people are allergic to now, don't get me started on that. You want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on those, because that's not a good thing. Consuming foods that trigger allergies during stressful times. Can you imagine during some kind of absolute horrible emergency and you eat something that you're allergic to? That's not helpful. No. So make sure that you're labeling everything. Make sure that you review the ingredients carefully. And it really takes you slowing down. There was a point, as an example, where I was having some significant issues with dairy, and we thought that I was allergic to it, okay? And so I got completely off of dairy. Well, I am the person that on my deathbed, I don't want anything elaborate. I don't want lobster. I don't want shrimp, okay? I want a perfectly grilled cheese sandwich. That's what I want. So that, to me, I love my cheese, okay? I couldn't have any cheese at all. And we went into the grocery store and I saw this thing called veggie slices. It was in the vegetable department. Hello, okay? I can do this. I was so excited. I bought it. I bought a loaf of rye bread. I went home. I unloaded the groceries and I immediately made myself a grilled cheese sandwich using that veggie sliced cheese that was in the produce department. And then I immediately sucked down a couple Benadryl because I couldn't breathe. Because in that veggie slices cheese was a dairy protein. You have to slow down. You have to look at everything, because in an emergency, that's not the time to run across those issues, okay? If you are dealing with some kind of catastrophic thing and you have to stop to find Benadryl or an EpiPen, that's not good. Mislabeling or lack of labels. You guys have heard me talk about my theoretical jar of pectin, but I'm not really sure because, I'm going to remember it, so I'm not going to bother labeling it, right? So the inability to identify contents leading to waste or hazardous consumption. That's the danger with not labeling. It really is a danger, okay? So you want to clearly label all your foods with the contents, the storage date, the expiration date, all of that fun stuff. Whatever you do to organize your pantry, but put the name of it on there. Trust me on this, because if you were to meet up with the proverbial bus, okay, then what is your family going to do? They're not going to be able to identify it just because you can. So you need to make sure that everything's labeled. Dehydration or freeze drying errors. So, our friend Darcy over at the Purposeful Pantry, I will put a link to her channel in this. Check her out because she is the queen of all things dehydrated. Okay. There are rules and processes for safe dehydrating, just like safe canning. I am no expert on freeze drying. I delegate. I'm a busy lady. Okay. But I'm sure there are some kind of rules in place for that too. So you want to make sure that you are doing it the way that you're supposed to for the length of time. Incomplete drying can lead to mold or bacteria growth. Darcy teaches us that conditioning whatever you've dehydrated, which is simply a fact of putting it into a container and then going and shaking it up, a few times over a few days to make sure that it's not sticking together, that it is completely dry. She's got a much better explanation on her channel, but that's a danger and that's a complete waste. If you don't get it completely dry, then you've wasted it. You really have. So you want to make sure that you're doing it properly. Ensure proper processing methods and storage in low humidity, airtight containers. Even with the Thrive, when you open that up, I don't leave it in the can anymore. I put it into airtight containers because that will ensure that it stays around longer. It takes a while for me to go through a can of onions. We go through a lot of them, but it takes me a while. I want to make sure that they're good when I go to open up that can the second time, okay? So I put it in airtight containers. You can put it in jars. You can put it in those, lock lid things, whatever works for you. But dehydration and freeze drying errors are big and something that you need to watch out for too. It's not just canning. Temperature fluctuations. We've talked a little bit about this. No extremes. No in the garage or in a shed or in a van or something like that, right? Because the deal is if your foods are exposed to extreme temperatures, like extreme heat, okay, they can spoil quicker. They can, their end date is moved up. And if you're talking about home canned goods, the lids can actually come unsealed. If you're talking about store-bought, they can expand, and blow up. We know somebody that they had some moonshine, and they put the jar in their camper and they forgot about it in there. And then they went out in the spring and it was not bad. It was a bad thing. So you want to make sure that everything is in a temperature controlled environment. Lisa, I live in Arizona and it gets to be, the temperature of hell and I don't have air conditioning. Okay, number one, get out of Arizona. But number two, it's okay. It just means it's not going to last as many years, okay? And that you may have to go through there more than once every quarter to make sure that everything is staying sealed. So that's fine. That's in your house. You can kind of regulate that a little bit, but a closed storage shed or an empty van or a garage, no. One of the things we need to pay attention to that a lot of people bring to my attention on a regular basis, and I try to address because I kind of think it's common sense, but okay, is hydration needs, overlooking hydration needs. Well, Lisa, you've got all this freeze-dried food, but do you have enough water? Because, we talk about the fact that you need at least 2 gallons of water a day. I think we've realized through this past year that you're looking more like 6. But anyway, for the purposes of just pantry preparedness, at least 2 gallons of water a day plus a way to filter water. I digress, okay? You have to rehydrate that. Well, you don't have to. The meat you do. The meat you definitely want to rehydrate, okay? The rest of it, you don't really have to. But, if people want to, they can. So you need to make sure that you have enough water in your stocks to rehydrate the freeze-dried and the dehydrated foods. It's not enough just to have them. You actually need to be able to consume them. And so if having it rehydrated, like the corn, I'll eat straight out of there. I don't need to rehydrate it, okay? The chicken, however, I need to rehydrate. So figure out what does, what doesn't, how much you might need. Add that into your water storage. Number 11, please take this so seriously, chemical contamination. This is a big one. So when you're looking at your pantry, I know I've shown it to you before, where I've got a couple of shelves that are non-food items, okay? They are paper products, or they are, dish soap, or they are dishwasher soap, or they are shampoo, that kind of thing. But none of that is right next to food. None of that is over food. You want to make sure to keep those as separate as you possibly can, because contamination is a really bad thing. The danger is the toxic absorption from nearby cleaning supplies or fumes. There are a lot of cleaning supplies out there. You guys know I've talked about the smelly laundry detergents and everything else, right? There's all this unnecessary stuff that people are using now, and it's toxic if you eat it. You don't want it on your food, okay? So try to keep it away from your food. You really don't want anything that's very fumey anywhere near your food. It's going to impact your food, okay? So store food separately from non-food items like chemicals, or, here we go to the garage again, fuel. Don't store food in your garage because that's where the fuel is. It's not good. Number 12 is forgotten non-food supplies, because I've mentioned quite a few times, your pantry is not just about food. It's about some of that other stuff too, okay? So lack of tools to open it, prepare it, or heat it. So I'm a big proponent of go to the thrift store and find a fondue pot, okay? Or a chafing dish, or get yourself a rocket stove or whatever, but make sure that you've got a manual can opener. I've never owned an electric can opener, but make sure you've got manual ones that you can use. Make sure that you've got the tools that you need to heat and open and cook food if something happens. Last but not least, my friends, we are here. Failure to consider special dietary needs, okay? So you have Baby Sue, who's got her special dietary needs, and you've got Grandpa Joe, who has his definite special dietary needs, and you got somebody in the middle who has their definite special dietary needs, right? So the inability to meet specific nutritional needs for children, elderly, or those with medical conditions, right? We need to be aware of those. And you're the only one that can honestly speak to that in your situation. I can't give you all the answers because I don't have the issue right now. I don't have the issue with children in the house or with elderly in the house unless you count me and Phil. We're not quite there as far as special dietary needs, okay? So you want to make sure that you've got what you need. Customize your supply. You're not stocking your pantry based on what I eat or what your neighbor eats or anybody else. It should only 100% be based on what you eat. Stock what you eat what you stock. It must rotate through. It has to, okay? So you want to customize your supply to include age-appropriate and medically necessary items for your household. Your household. I'm not big on stocking for bartering, okay? Stock what you use what you stock. When you become a multimillionaire, you can buy a bunch of stuff that you're never going to use. Until then, I highly recommend counting those pennies. Your emergency food supply should be a source of security. This should be your warm, fuzzy, happy place. By addressing the hidden dangers that we've discussed today, you can ensure that you are better prepared to take care of you and yours in an emergency. It's really simple. They're all easy steps, just things to be aware of. So I'm encouraging you to take action now. Inspect your pantry, reassess your storage methods, and share this information with others to help them. I appreciate it. Don't forget to comment below with your top food storage suggestions. Check out this playlist for more ways to stock your pantry. And until next time, everybody, be safe. Stack it to the rafters, my friends.